Well, it is another beautiful morning to have a wonderful and educating discussion. Good morning, viewers, and welcome to Now Streaming on ACNN TV. My name is Promise Njoku Adibe, and I am very honored to be your anchor today. Well, with me in the studio is Mr. Chukwuebuka Ejekam. He is a public health expert. Good morning, Mr. Ebuka, and thank you for joining us.
It's my pleasure. Good morning, viewers.
Well, viewers, don't forget to call in using the phone number showing on your screen, or send in your messages via our social media handles also showing on your screen. Right now, we're going to be looking at a very, very important topic. Health is not just a personal endeavor. It is an environmental commitment we make every day. Every step towards a healthier environment is a step towards a healthier humanity, because the issues of environmental health are so critical to human well-being. No wonder it is celebrated twice annually to underscore the importance of the environment to our well-being. So today we shall be looking at Environmental Health Day, and still with me in the studio is Mr. Chukwuebuka Ejekam. He is a public health expert. So I'm back to you. So we're done with newspaper review now.
By professional training, academic training.
Okay, so yeah, so now let's look at today is what Environmental Health Day, and then I remember because of our discussion outside before we came to, so you talked about it's been celebrated twice, and I had to mention it to our viewers in my opening. So I just want to know, what exactly is this environmental health? I have 3 in 1 question, sorry. First, what exactly is this environmental health? Secondly, why is it so important for us to even celebrate it twice every year? And then why the international celebration?
Okay, thank you very much. I think environmental health is the branch of public health, just trying to sound a bit academic.
Okay, just educate us in the language we will understand.
Yeah. That is concerned with the relationship between human health,
okay,
including the quality of our lives,
okay,
with the external environment. And that external environment could include factors such as factors which could be physical, chemical, biological. Everything around us impacts our health. So the branch of public health that focuses on studying that relationship is called environmental health. What's the impact of the air around us, the atmosphere around us, which includes the air? What's the impact on our health? What's the impact of the hydrosphere, the water body, including the oceans and the sea, on our health? That's what environmental health. What's the impact of the lithosphere? That's the rocks, the mountains, the valleys, some of those things. What's their impact on our health? Because they do impact our health. And what's the impact of the biosphere, the biological components, the social environment, the cultural environment? Because according to WHO, the standard definition of health says health is not merely the absence of disease, but a state of complete social, biological, even including spiritual welfare. So what's the impact of our spiritual environment? If you drill down to the nitty-gritties of environmental, it looks at the social environment, the cultural environment, what's their impact on our health? So that branch of public health that deals with that is called environmental health. And there are I'm an epidemiologist, but I remember back in the days in school there were people who specialized in environmental health, environmental and occupational health. There are people who specialized in that. So it's important at that global level. I think it was in 1972 at the Stockholm Conference that the United Nations General Assembly declared that June 5, that's 5th of June every year, be dedicated to commemorating, so that issues about raising environmental health awareness is topical at that global level. So, and countries, Nigeria being a signatory, a member of UNGAS, has been celebrating this. We had it in June this year.
Yeah, well, I wanted to remind you of that. Why are we celebrating it twice?
The United Nations Office on Environmental, UNEP, United Nations Environmental Program, coordinates the June 5 celebration, and this year we looked at beating plastic pollution.
Okay.
And then there's also the International Federation of Environmental Health, IFEH,
Okay.
Another arm that countries are signatory to is also another body that coordinates the 26th of February celebrations.
20th of September.
26th of September
Okay.
celebration, yeah. That's also another branch, the one that International Federation of Environmental Health coordinates. And this year, they're looking at the theme that talks about standing up for people to protect everybody's health each and every day. That's the theme of this year's celebration. But also this year, we've also celebrated it on the 5th of June, looking at beating plastic pollution.
Yeah.
So an issue that, the way I looked at it is the fact that even God himself is interested in the environment.
Oh, of course,
So
he is.
that we are celebrating it twice, it also falls in line, because one of the primary things that duties that God gave the first man was to take care of the environment.
True.
And this earth is our Father's world. We have to live in it, manage the resources therein in such a way that is sustainable for future generations to benefit from it.
Okay.
So it's so important to us, it's so important to humankind that annually twice the world commemorates World Environmental Health Day. One arm coordinated by United Nations Environmental Program, UNEP, and this other arm, today's own, 26th of September, coordinated by International Federation of Environmental Health.
Okay, so now that's internationally. Let's bring it home to Nigeria.
Yeah.
In your own opinion, I know you've traveled far and wide. I think you must have visited almost all the states in Nigeria. But
Actually,
then,
yeah,
you visited, I'm very sure,
I
I'm
pride
correct.
myself that I'm a good
Oh.
I'm a real Nigerian. I
So-
think it's only about on purpose that I've not been to 2 states.
Oh,
I
okay.
had opportunities to be in those places, but for some things I didn't
Oh,
have.
okay. So what then can you say is the state of environmental health in Nigeria today?
I mean, sincerely speaking, it leaves much room for us to be concerned.
Okay.
We are making progress. But
Are we?
We are making progress because, I mean, we may not be where we want to be, but the truth is that we may not exactly be where we started from.
Okay.
We are making progress, but it's not, the effort is not at par with what we are hoping to be seeing. We have certain conventions. We have the Nigerian Ministry of Environment working hard. A new minister is involved. We have some policies. We have NESTRA also there trying to coordinate things and manage things. But the truth is there are still many gaps. I mean, look at we are in the rainy season. Issues
The floods, yes.
flooding. These environmental issues is staring us in the face. In fact, the Nigerian Hydrological Service Agency, earlier in February this year, gave us a prediction that about 32 out of 36 states
Will be flooded.
will be flooded, and that is going to affect 178 LGAs in country. And we are seeing it. Even though FCT was not even listed among the top ranked states to be flooded, but those of us residents in FCT know what we are battling in this rainy season.
Very true.
We've seen pictures of a state that have been submerged by flood. So we are making small progress here and there, but it leaves us reasons to be concerned that this environment, the land space called Nigeria, is not being managed in a sustainable way, that this environment, we can say that we will hand it over to the future generations intact. So we are all seeing the ills around us, and we need to do more to safeguard this environment for the future. We need to actually do more. Flooding here and there, e-waste everywhere. Go to our computer villages, look at relics of computers here and there, plastics here and there. You get into our water bodies, people mess it up, hygiene is low, waste products. So I mean, we need to do more.
A whole lot.
We need to
A
strengthen institutions. We need to strengthen regulatory bodies, so that they do what they need to do to make sure that this environment is safe for all. Because if we don't do, the impact will be felt in our bodies. We will not become
talking about the impact, I just want to know what exactly are the most pressing environmental health concerns we face today in Nigeria? The most pressing.
I mean, for me, is the issue of indiscriminate waste management everywhere you go. I mean, our cities are not being managed well.
Not at all.
You have debris here and there. It's something that we need to work on, because I mean, it's germane at this time. And then in instances of industrial waste also, carbon emission in the environment, industrial cities, maybe cities like Lagos, Ogun, where you have some industrial hubs. In Abuja, we have the industrial hubs. Are we managing some of those things? Because what they release into the environment, the air we breathe, are they quality air? In fact, when you look at the domains of environmental health, you talk about vector control, you talk about waste management, you talk about food safety, you talk about radiation, you talk about air quality, you talk about noise pollution, you talk about helpful
that noise
housing.
pollution is terrible.
And so let's just bring out the issue of air pollution. It's a critical issue in today's Nigeria. The air we breathe sometimes is no longer even safe. Look at the volume of cars on our highways emitting carbon dioxide, which is not good
For
maybe
health.
for our lungs. Continuous exposure to these things over time can result in upper respiratory tract disorders. And then look at the occupational health hazard that we face. These are pressing issues. And I'm sure that if the bodies that are statutorily enshrined to regulate these things do what they ought to do, we can minimize this. And sometimes you see the cars on our road that are even no longer roadworthy.
Yeah, but then
They come and our regulatory agency sees them, turns a blind eye, and then it continues to endanger our health. Look at our estates. Are we managing our cities well? Refuse is being dumped.
everywhere.
Look at our drainage channels being clogged, suffused with refuse here and there, and drainages are not passing through.
by.
And that's what is causing some of the issues we are having, that cities are being flooded, houses in states where people are building along coastal lines, unfortunately including Abuja, where people are building along coastal channels, and they'll tell you they have papers from government.
But it's true, they have papers.
And so you begin to imagine what is happening.
And that is why the FCT minister
Somebody said earthquake is the time now to clean up Abuja.
they are telling you, he said they must go down.
Yeah, so we hope he's thoroughly neat and he does it with a human face and does the right thing, stand on the path of truth, so that we can regulate our environment, because the environment we abuse today, we take its toll on us tomorrow.
Agreed. Now, coming down, looking at the fact that, okay, let's assume the federal government have their hands full. They can't, even if they are able to do at the state level, what exactly do you think, what role can the local communities play in ensuring that their environment, remains healthy and sustainable for the people living there?
So for me, it's also getting into that mindset orientation that this is everybody's business.
True.
Don't think the man in Abuja that if there is any ill in your environment, it will affect the man in Abuja first. It is you. So local structures, local community structures need to come up in sensitizing people. You don't throw away garbages and waste indiscriminately. We have supposedly educated Nigerians that when they drive, they trash things.
Yeah, they just wind down and then fling it out.
You are not being eco-friendly. You are not being eco-friendly, because it's an ecology that one way or the other we all will reap from the ills or the gains thereof. So local communities, villages, the churches, platforms in communities need to come up to sensitize people that we don't abuse the environment, because we all will pay for it one day, one way or the other. We need to strengthen young people at home, the schools, local platforms, car unions, everybody, local government structures, the National Orientation Agency. These agencies need to come up to begin to sensitize people that this environment is for us to sustain it, that it's been given to us primarily by God for us to manage it in such a way that we can hand it over to the next generation. The government may have their hands full, but it's got to be everybody's business. And for me, that orientation is key. That orientation is key. We need to follow through. We need to make sure that people do what they ought to.
Okay, so you've been talking about orientation. Please, can you start orienting Nigerians now, one after the other, do's and don'ts, please, about maybe 5 of them.
Be eco-friendly.
Okay.
Don't throw away trash. Don't in restricted places, like trashing your stuff from your home, waste by the
roadside or
by
inside the drainages.
And then we have people who go to ocean, water bodies, beaches. They eat things and throw it away by the day. When we begin to talk about the ills of plastic waste, how it affects the ocean economy, the aquatic life, and then we end up also eating those fishes that come from the ocean. We are exposing ourselves to a lot of carcinogenic substances, and then you see the prevalence of cancer growing. It's because we are not managing these things well. So we need to take responsibility. Make sure you live in an eco-friendly manner. Make sure that you don't abuse this environment. In a nutshell, in summary, that's all I've got to say.
Oh, okay. Then you talked about plastic. It has been celebrated July 5th, but then I want you to tell us, looking at the theme of of July 5th. So yes, how do these and you talked about all these things in the oceans and all that. So how do these microplastics and nanoplastics in our food and water sources impact our health? Because you talked about it, and then you talked about cancer and all that. So how exactly?
Microplastics, just to say, pieces, traces of plastic materials that are generated either by industrial production processes or by the decomposition of plastic materials around. The truth is that over time, these floating plastic waste gets washed off into oceans and seas. Over time. Most times they get washed off into it. In fact, I read an article that says that 400 million tons of plastic waste are produced annually. And
400 million
tons. I read an article that says that.
Wow.
That statistic is scary.
Much.
And the tragedy also is the fact that more than half of this, above 200 million, do not get recycled. They are used only once, and they end up in ocean bodies. Zooplanktons, that's animals that live in the sea. Sometimes we mistake these traces as prey. They feed on them. And of course, when you look at the food chain within the aquatic environment, fishes will end up eating these zooplanktons. And who ends up eating the fish?
You and I.
Ebuka,
I promise.
And then these things get washed up into our body. There's what is called estrogenic substances. The issue about nanoplastic is that the folates in them sometimes can get washed off, escaping barriers in our body. And then they will take up the oxygen spaces inside of us. And then imagine when the body is denied of oxygen, because they have a way of mimicking the oxygens, these exogenous substances that come from plastics. It's interesting when you get into research and read of some.
No, it actually begins to be scary. It's actually scary. I'm already getting scared.
And the body needs oxygen, the hemoglobin that moves blood. In fact, when these things mimic oxygen and they get into the body, imagine being denied of oxygen for a minute. And so some of these things are also carcinogenic. We could have prevented this if we manage our environment well. The plastics we trash, a whole lot of them ending up in ocean bodies. They are there. The zooplanktons will eat it, and then they come back to human being. It's a cycle.
Wow.
And then we are paying for it. That's why on June 5th, once again, the United Nations Office on Environment reminded the world that it's high time that we beat plastic pollution. Most of the things we eat, when we enter the eateries, they package our food in plastics.
Yeah.
When we buy things,
we microwave.
We do a lot of this, but we don't get to. In fact, in developed climes, they put it in recycled trashes where they can be taken and recycled. But unfortunately, in developing and third world countries, well,
viewers, I'm getting very, very educated here. I hope you're being educated out there too. Please feel free to call in. He's very capable to answer your questions. So feel free to call in and ask your questions or make your contributions. We'll be really willing to hear from you.
Like Daniel in the scripture, I don't have, there is a God in heaven. That is the inspiration of the Most High, breaded upon man understanding. So I may not be really capable, but God will enable us.
Well, He has made us gods on earth. Okay, so I want to know what innovative strategies have been implemented around the world to combat environmental health threats.
I think innovations are coming up, and maybe Nigeria may be coming late to the party, but in some parts of the world now, people are developing biodegradable plastics using fibers and carbohydrates.
Oh,
That's the new innovation that is happening. We are not yet there, but some countries like Germany are also exploring those options. And I also will want to thank the Federal Ministry of Health, the agency NESRA, the Nigerian Environmental Standard and Regulatory Enforcement Agency NESRA. There are some of those things that they've thrown out there that will help us curtail the issues of environmental pollution that is happening. I read up about what is called extended producer responsibility, wherein they are trying to encourage generators of waste, the industrialists, to make sure that they factor in the possible environmental impact every cycle of production of their products, so that in such a way they discourage them from producing more of these things that will impact the environment negatively, knowing that you are going to be taxed when the assessment is done. When I measure each cycle of production, what is the potential environmental impact negatively to the end consumers? NESRA is also doing that through the EPRO arrangements, just making industry to be responsible. And then the innovation around getting plastics that are degradable, because the plastics we have around are non-biodegradable.
Yeah.
They will end up millions of years, they are still there, and they keep on emitting, especially when they are exposed to ultraviolet radiations. They will keep on emitting these chemicals that will impact the environment. In fact, there are two chemicals I remember, they call the PPA, polythalamide, the one that makes the plastics transparent, and the one that makes it flexible, called the dipropyl hexylphthalate. Those things, when they're exposed to ultraviolet radiations, will emit these chemicals that will end up becoming injurious to human body. But innovations are coming up in other climes to be able to curtail these things, and I pray and hope that Nigeria will.
I pray so too. A very big amen. A very big amen.
Is trying to do some things around discouraging industrialists from also emitting this waste. I encourage the road safety, because the one that I see every day as I drive is the issue around the cars on our road, the emissions, the carbon emissions, and even abusing the environment through smoking. As small as that is, we introduce things that will impact our lungs, and cumulatively these things will build up, that when you come up a certain age, people begin to
what about burning of refuse,
and then waste,
and then the generator fumes.
Yes,
oh my god,
generator fumes, all these things. In Nigeria they say I pass my number, everybody has got to have it. So,
but then you can't stay in the dark when there's no light. You can't stay in the dark along with your children.
So you see,
we don't have a choice in this aspect.
We're in a deep hole and we need to walk around. These things are multi-sectoral. The response has got to be multi-sectoral. In fact, in the health domain, in the national HIV response, we talk about this multi-sectoral response. I think it's a paradigm we need to bring in responding to the environmental issues we have. Because if we are to be having constant light,
yeah, a lot of we don't have any use for generator.
For generators.
Very true.
So we need to design a multi-sectoral approach that all things are working, so that we minimize some of these things. I was in one of the African countries in May this year, precisely Mozambique, and it was interesting that throughout my stay, the lights never went.
Oh my god!
This is a country of about 16 million people. And then they are doing well, managing their resources. And look at all our endowments, hydropower, sun. We have various sources, and then we are still struggling. And
then our national grid is always falling apart. Okay, so I've just been told that we need to round it up. So I want to ask for your advice to lastly, that should be your last word, to the federal government as well as the masses as regards what we just talked about, standing up to protect everyone's health each and every day. So what's your advice, your last word to government?
Don't stop the policies. We have the good policies, is to make sure that the people who are responsible for implementation and enforcement do the work. So we've got road safety, we've got NESRA, we've got the Federal Ministry of Environment. They need to be up and doing with their regulatory functions. We need to make sure that we manage our cities very well. Sometimes the Nigerian Meteorological Agency and the Nigerian Hydrological Service Agency, February this year, gave prediction for states to be prepared. The government needs to be prepared. Look at the issues of flooding.
I'm telling you, so
In
scary.
emergency management, there are 3 stages. You talk about the preparedness, you talk about the prevention, and then you talk about the response, the impact mitigation aspects. These things will be foretold. How come that every other year we are having it?
Always.
So
And it looks as if we're not
those
prepared.
states that are along the coastal belt, as you know, you need to be prepared. In my place, there's a proverb that says that the word that is announced does not kill the cripple.
You want to say it in your dialect?
In my dialect,
Yes.
that's the way we say it in Igbo. That this word that is announced does not need to eat the cripple.
Yeah.
Now, these things have been announced that so states, and they were so precise in their prediction. The state government needs to be prepared. If you need to move out people who are living in shanties along the environment, look at what happened in Guatemala recently. I think about a few days ago. People along that belt in Guatemala, we are finished. 18 mortality reported already. Among these 18, 10 persons were children. And then there could be other people missing.
Yeah, of course.
Let's talk about Libya. Look at what happened in Libya recently. The flood in Dena. And it was, I mean, it's just like we're having in Nigeria. Those dams that got collapsed, we know that they were aging dams. But I thank God for what Libya has done. The authorities that needed to manage it, they are facing the music.
Yes, they were arrested. Yes, they were arrested.
When do we begin to take responsibility that people who are supposed to manage these issues
have been arrested? Yes.
Abuse, when do we call them to account? That's the duty of government, enforcement and
regulation. Okay. In 30 seconds, to the masses.
And to all of us, we need to live more eco-friendly lives. We need to stop abusing the environment. We need to manage. Let's not see it as government thing. All of us are involved. We're all part of humanity. In fact, maybe I should be ending with this short. That quotation from John Dunes.
Okay.
Relating it to something else. He talks about we are an inescapable network of mutuality, tied in a single garment of destiny. I think it is Martin Luther King. He said, whatever affects one directly affects another. All. For injury to one anyway is injury to all. And it was John Dunes that says that any man's death diminishes me because I am involved in humankind.
Oh.
Never send to know for whom the bell tolls. It tolls for thee. So don't think it's the federal government. When the bell tolls, it's tolling for thee. You have got one of the ways I live my life under God is to look at it primarily from the first person point of view. This thing affects me. What do I need to do to avert it?
Okay.
If it's something that is bad, before I begin to talk about what the second person will do.
Okay, thank you very much. I don't know which to call you. I don't know if to call you Bukajekam or Evangelist Bukajekam or Comrade, but whichever. Thank you very much for coming to talk to us today. We really had, we found so much value. Thank you very much. And to our viewers out there, thank you so much for staying with us. I just want to leave you with this, that for a world where every breath is clean and every water drop is pure, we must stand daily for environmental health. Our daily choices echo in our health. So fellow Nigerians, stand up for life. Well, until we come your way again tomorrow, same time, same station, remember to stand up for an environment that nurtures us all. Bye-bye.